as I was taking a walk, I was reminded of the passage in Matthew where Jesus is found walking on water and his response and reactions of the disciples. And I was thinking about how oftentimes we react the same way when we see Jesus doing what he normally doesn't do. Take a look at the book of Matthew, the 14th chapter, beginning with verse 25. It says this: shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. In verse 26, when the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified. You know, if you're like me, when you first read this particular passage, you thought to yourself, after all this time spending with Jesus, after watching him perform miracles after miracles after miracles, why in the world were they terrified seeing Jesus perform yet another miracle? As a matter of fact, if you read just a little bit above that, he just finished feeding 5,000 people. So you would think they would not respond the way that they did when they saw Jesus. But then as I began to pray and I began to read some more and reflect on my own life, I realized there are a couple of things that I missed the first time I read this. Number one, the disciples were on the lake during dawn, and it was probably kind of dark. Even though the sun may have been just beginning to rise, it was still hard to see their surroundings. The second thing that I realized was they have probably been on a boat a bunch of times before then. They probably were used to the waters rippling. They probably were used to the fact that the moon was setting and the sun was beginning to rise and they couldn't see. But what they were not used to was seeing Jesus amidst those conditions. As I reflect on my particular life right now and our lives right now, I wonder how many of us can admit that we're in a place right now in our lives where we may be able to see some things, but we're not quite sure what the future holds. Some of us can say we're old enough right now where we've been in these conditions before. We're familiar with racism, we're familiar with sexism, we're familiar with the challenges, we're familiar with our health not being what we want it to be. We're familiar, but maybe we're not familiar seeing Jesus in these kind of conditions. Maybe we're not used to seeing Jesus do miracles in this type of situation we're in right now. And so this morning, I want to invite you to just take some time, look around your surroundings, pay attention, see where Christ is right now in your situation. If you're in a hospital bed right now watching this, I invite you to just look around, even in your room, and say, God, reveal yourself to me. I don't want to be afraid to see your presence. I don't want to be startled. I want to live expecting you to show up. I thank you this morning for just taking some time to join me. And I want you to know at Riverside that we're always praying for you. We believe God is still in the miracle business. We believe that God is still in the blessing business. And we believe that God is blessing you even right now. I'm Pastor Q Somerville, Senior Pastor of Riverside, Houston United Methodist Church here in 3rd Ward. I love you. We're praying for you. Can't wait to see you soon. God bless.